Hello friends, and welcome to this Aries painting, the second in the Zodiac series. I used a lot of reference photos in order to create the concept drawing for this painting, and like I said, it was a lot. There were a lot of different components that I wanted to experiment with, even my own sword, which if you look at the painting, it's definitely my hand holding the sword because she has no nails, because I have a terrible habit of biting them. But today I want to kind of talk about a couple of things that I've been thinking about. It's been about 3 weeks since I posted a video, and that's partly because it took a long time to complete this painting. In fact, this right here, what I'm doing, the underpainting, is the first underpainting before I decided to redo everything. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about that because sometimes you have to start over. And starting over isn't exactly fun, but it's sometimes a necessary part of the process, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah, we all screw up, we all make mistakes, and we all create things sometimes that we're not particularly thrilled with, or they're not meeting the expectations we have for ourselves. It could be the proportions, it could be that the composition looked way better on paper than it ended up looking on canvas. But that composition, I wasn't happy with. So I went back to the drawing board, literally, and it created a new and improved sketch, which I could then translate onto my canvas, spending a lot more time on getting the proportions right, and all of the components that I didn't want to have in the painting I took out and put other things in. So this was more of a drawn out process than I would have liked. However, I feel that sometimes when you are painting what you want to paint and you have an idea in your head, you may end up having to put a little more work in order to bring your vision to life. And yeah, this is a little bit more challenging, and some people might not like to draw out or sketch or anything like that. And that's totally fine. I love to draw. It's one of my favorite things to do. I've been drawing since I was a kid, and that's how I started getting into art in the first place. So the drawing part of it is one of my favorite parts. I love creating new worlds and using my imagination in conjunction with reference photos in order to create new things. That might not be for everyone, and that is totally okay. Your process is yours, and however you choose to do it, whether you choose to create photo collages in order to get a foundation for a painting, or you do digital drawing, or whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, it's your process, and, well, I'm not gonna judge you. That's not to say that other people won't, because let's face it, people will always have something to say, especially in a field like art where everyone is a self-appointed critic. Yeah, while we're here, we might as well dive down this rabbit hole and face the elephant in the room. People criticizing your artwork, your process, everything about what you do. Let's just remember, those are opinions, and they don't define your work's worth. They're just noise reflecting biases and not necessarily your reality. And everyone's opinion is going to be different. What one person likes about a painting, another person might hate about a painting. And that's because art is subjective. And why is it subjective? Because its meaning, value, and beauty depend on personal perception and individual experience. Someone who loves order might gravitate towards symmetry in a painting, while someone who is a little bit, more eccentric might go for abstraction. But if a painting really resonates with a person, it's not usually because of an objective measurement like analyzing brushstrokes or composition. It's more of a feeling or a connection, not a math problem. But this is why debates about art never ever end, because there's no universal yardstick, just a million personal ones, and everyone has their own opinion, including you. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You have an opinion on your own work. Usually, you're more critical than anyone else could be of your own artwork. So you don't need to listen to other people and let them feed the seed of self-doubt, because, that already exists without them. Which brings me to my next subject, which is unsolicited advice and the word should. Oh, boy, I don't like that word. You know why? Because it's a loaded little tyrant of a word. It's bossy, and it implies that there's a right way to do things, often based on someone else's rules or expectations, not your own. It sneaks in judgment, like you're already failing if you're not on board. You should do this. You should feel that. It's a guilt trip in 6 letters. It rarely comes with evidence, just a vague, heavy vibe that you're off track. Perhaps you're a really detailed painter and that's what's important to you and that's what you love doing, and someone says you should be looser in your painting or you need to do this within your artwork. Well, they're not you. They're them. That's their opinion. It's based on their bias, their personal aesthetic, or their taste. I've had people tell me that I should paint landscapes because that's what sells in my area. I live in coastal New England and that's what sells here, and so that's what I should be painting. But I don't want to paint landscapes, so I don't. I paint what I want. And don't get me wrong, I have zero problem with landscapes. I just don't paint landscapes very well. In fact, I put a landscape at the bottom of this painting and it was one of the harder parts of the painting for me. I'm just not a landscape painter. However, I will give it a shot if I think that it's going to be good for the painting. It's just not really what I gravitate towards. I have a more illustrative style to my artwork, and that's what I do. And like I said before, there is nothing wrong with that. If everybody painted exactly the same way and created the same art and used the same process, the art world would be a really boring place. That being said, I am not saying that you should never, use those 2 awful words, listen to any kind of critique or hear it out from maybe an artist that you respect or that you admire that really kind of knows who you are. You know, obviously, you can hear someone out, but when it comes to random people making snarky comments or giving unsolicited advice, you have to remember that art is not a democracy. It's not about tallying votes or pleasing the crowd. And the moment that you start tweaking your work to dodge a nasty comment or win a nod, you're not making your art anymore. You're making theirs. You don't need to turn your artwork into a mirror for somebody else's preferences. It's completely unnecessary. The thing is that your individual take on the world is going to be interesting to somebody, and they're going to resonate with your artwork, no matter what you do. You're always going to have haters. You're always going to have people that don't like what you do, that think you should be doing it a different way, that think that your art isn't art sometimes. I mean, this painting isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone is going to like the premise of it. Maybe they won't think that the symbolism in it is good. Maybe they'll hate the technique. And hey, they have a right to their own opinion, and that's perfectly fine. But I also have the right to paint whatever I want, however I want to paint it. And so do you. And that's the whole thing. There's nothing like that kind of freedom. And although this painting challenged me in so many ways, right from the beginning, from the drawing phase to the underpainting phase, back to the drawing phase to the underpainting phase, and finally doing the color, I changed things as I went throughout this painting and then changed them again. But you know what? I loved every minute of it. And that's the key. If you love every minute of your process and you are enjoying yourself and doing what you love, then the rest of the noise doesn't matter at all. It's completely irrelevant. You may be wondering why I'm talking about all of this in this particular video, but I'm going to tell you a real quick story. I'll make it brief. I was at the grocery store and I ran into someone that I know, and they asked me, "Oh, how's your art going? How's the painting going?" And I said, "Oh, it's going really good. You know, I'm working on this Zodiac series right now." And they looked at me with a disgusted face, a disgusted expression, and they said, "Why?" And I looked at them and I was kind of taken aback for a minute, and I said, because I want to?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know why you'd want to do that." So that's what I'm talking about, people. Is you're going to have people who have opinions on the subject matter that you decide to paint, possibly your technique. Maybe they have opinions on how you express yourself, or they don't like the fact that you paint animals. It doesn't matter what they say. Are you going to stop doing what you're doing just because of one person's comment or their opinion? I really hope you don't. I hope you stay true to yourself. Stay true to what you want to paint. If you want to improve and you want to ask other people's advice, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're asking for it. It's versus people just giving you advice that you don't want, or they think they're trying to help you, but all they're doing are really just annoying you. It would be the same thing as, like, let's just say that you go out for a walk and you come home and your neighbor is cleaning your house. And you say, what are you doing in my house? And they say, oh, I'm helping you. And you're like, but you're kind of in my space and you're overstepping. And that's really what unsolicited advice is. It's kind of overstepping. Whether people think that they're being helpful, it's advice you didn't ask for. It's help you weren't looking for. And there's a big difference between asking for help or asking for advice or asking for a critique versus people just feeling entitled to play the wise sage even when no one asks. You toss in the fact that art is often public, on display for all to judge, and you've got a perfect storm of opinions flying uninvited. It's kind of like everyone shouting into a void hoping to be the voice that matters. But the reality is this: when it comes to your art, your voice is the one that really matters. That's the one that you want to listen to. Not everyone else's, yours. You can take some other voices into consideration, but when it comes right down to it, your voice, and when I say your voice, I mean your artistic voice, is the one that's going to reflect your ideals. And you're going to be more prone to staying true to your ideals the louder your voice is. And this is important because it's the spine of who you are. It's about integrity. Ideals are your compass, and without them, you're just kind of drifting, and you're chasing whatever shiny trends or approval are out there. And staying true to that voice, those ideals, can often mean friction. I mean, the world loves conformity. You step out and you're going to catch some flack. I think that's why authenticity seems like a pretty rare quality these days. And I think it's because modern life kind of stacks the deck against us in a lot of ways. We got social media, which turns everything into a performance. People curate their lives for likes, chasing what plays well over what's real. There's a lot of pressure to fit in. There's cancel culture, and groupthink tends to reward conformity. Whether it's buying the right thing or parroting the loudest opinions, being yourself tends to risk rejection. And that's scary when connection's just a swipe away. Plus, we're drowned in noise, ads, influencers, algorithms. It makes it really hard to even hear your own voice, let alone trust it. But trust it you must, my friends, because that voice, that authenticity, those ideals, that's going to be your anchor. It's going to keep you grounded in a world full of bullshit. When you're being real, who you really are, staying true to yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your quirks, and you're not wearing a mask, drifting through life, mimicking someone else's script, it feels pretty good. You tend to make choices that fit you, even if they're unpopular. And that's okay. But at least you're not following some hollow trend or expectation built by other people that are following the trends and expectations of other people. I would personally just find that really exhausting. I mean, maybe I'm just lazy when it comes to performing and being someone other than who I am. That could really come down to laziness. But it just sounds like a lot of work. I would compare it to going to the gym every day, not to become healthier for yourself, but so that other people would look at you with some kind of admiration, maybe lust or something like that. And you wouldn't catch me in a gym either way because I'm terrified of Mercer. And that can really happen. I knew a girl who got Mercer from working at a gym. Crazy. And I was like, oh, I'm not going there. I'll work out at home. Thank you very much. Give me some free weights. I'll do some yoga. I'm good to go. I'm getting off track. But the point is that no matter what people say to you, no matter what they think, whether they think that you painting a Zodiac series is stupid or don't understand why you would want to do that, it really doesn't matter. What matters is you do what you want, you paint what you want, you stay true to yourself, and other people are going to like what you do. It's just probably not going to be everyone. So I hope you enjoyed this painting process and me just kind of chatting with you about what I think about things, my thoughts, and I really love how this painting turns out. I hope you do too. If you don't, that's fine, but I love you guys and I will see you next time. Bye!